What happens when the unassuming new girl in a tech company makes a spectacular blunder in front of her boss? Alice Park, a struggling administrative assistant, found herself adjusting her bra in the reflection of her CEO's sleek black car, only to be caught red-handed by Nicholas Smith, the very man she would soon be working for. Laughter erupted among her colleagues, turning her embarrassment into office folklore overnight. But little did they know, Alice was about to prove everyone wrong and rise beyond their expectations. Stay tuned to witness how this underestimated underdog transforms humiliation into triumph. Alice Park sprinted through the bustling streets, clutching her crumpled resume in one hand and feeling her heart race like an over-revved engine. She was late for the most crucial interview of her life. "If I miss this interview, I might as well sell my kidneys," she muttered breathlessly, stumbling along the uneven sidewalk. Just ahead, there stood the skyscraper where her potential future awaited. All she needed to do was take a deep breath and appear somewhat composed. That's when she spotted it, a sleek black car parked right in front of the building, its tinted windows providing the perfect reflective surface. "Great, a first-class mirror," she murmured, halting in front of the passenger window. With quick, practiced movements, she began adjusting her bra beneath her blouse, twisting her body like a gymnast performing a routine. She then pulled out her lipstick, applying it with full concentration, and flashed a smile at her reflection, only to freeze in horror. A big, bright piece of lettuce was stuck between her teeth. "Seriously?" she groaned, trying to dislodge the intruder with her finger while making a face worthy of a slapstick comedy. And then it happened, the soft hum of the window rolling down slowly. Alice froze, her hands still in her mouth, eyes wide as she looked inside the car. An absurdly handsome man stared back at her, his perfect hair and sharp suit complementing an expression that clearly said, "I saw everything." "Need help with that, or would you prefer a professional mirror?" he asked, his voice calm, yet slightly amused. Alice blinked twice, her mind screaming, "Run!" But for some reason, her legs stayed glued to the ground. She wiped her fingers on her pants, lifted her chin, and replied, "Let me know if you find my dignity anywhere. I think I dropped it back there in the middle of this humiliation." The man chuckled, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "Just a little, just enough for my eyes to shine." Alice felt her cheeks flush crimson. "This is a nightmare. I must be dreaming. That's the only explanation." "Welcome to your interview, Mississippi Park. Don't worry, whatever you do now, it won't be weirder than what happened outside." Alice sank back into the chair. "Is it too late to jump out the window?" Nicholas smiled as he opened her resume. "I'd close the window before you try. You seem dangerous." At that moment, Alice was convinced that the universe had a questionable sense of humor, and a cruel one at that. She was sitting in front of the most handsome, most elegant man who was now officially her new boss after she had publicly embarrassed herself right in front of his car. Nicholas skimmed through her resume with narrowed eyes, analyzing each line for signs of insanity. So, Alice Park, degree in business administration, a technical course in marketing, experience as a financial assistant in 2 places. No mention of sidewalk acrobatics or spontaneous stand-up performances through car windows. Alice smiled nervously. "I'm still updating that section of my resume. I thought about adding street performer as a side gig, but it felt too informal." "Oh, what a shame. I would have hired you just for that," he said, crossing his arms and leaning back against the desk. "Have you ever worked with technology before?" "Yes, I turned on the microwave yesterday, and it worked." "Cutting-edge technology," she replied, trying to keep the mood light. He laughed, shaking his head slightly. "We're off to a good start. Now tell me, why do you want to work here?" Alice took a deep breath, preparing to switch to serious interview mode. But honestly, there wasn't much left to lose. Her dignity had already vanished on the sidewalk. "Because I'm good, even coming from a place where no one bets on you, even without a Harvard degree or connections at fancy dinners. I work hard. I don't give up. And if someone gives me a chance, I make it count." Nicholas's smile faded for a moment. He looked at Alice differently now, not with amusement, but as if he had heard more than he expected. "That was honest and rare," he said. "I can lie too, if you'd prefer. I'm great at it." Alice shot back, straightening up. "For example, I'm completely calm right now and definitely not thinking about escaping through that window. Nicholas let out a quiet chuckle. I like people who don't hide behind scripted answers, but I also like testing limits. Alice frowned. Testing limits. He twirled his pen between his fingers, looking at her with a playful gleam in his eyes. For example, what if I told you that someone in this room already has an opinion about you? She raised an eyebrow. I ask if that opinion includes clumsy, talkative, and traumatized by lettuce. And what if I told you it includes authentic, unpredictable, and strangely interesting? Alice's heart skipped a beat or two. She tried to respond, but the words wouldn't come out. Taking a deep breath, she adjusted her hair and said, I'd say that person has questionable taste, but excellent judgment. Nicholas smiled fully now, closing the resume slowly. Mr. Park, I think we'll be seeing each other again very soon. Alice blinked, surprised. What do you mean? Is it over already? I've seen everything I needed to see. He stood up gracefully. And I can assure you, you've passed the hardest part of this interview. You're hired. What part? Being yourself even when everything goes wrong. Alice stared at him, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or run before he changed his mind. Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. Just Nicholas for now, he replied with a warm smile. She nodded, still confused, and left the room slowly. As she walked out, she could still feel his gaze on her back, not one of judgment, but a genuine interest. When the door closed, Alice leaned against the hallway wall, taking a deep breath. She ran a hand over her face, unable to believe what had just happened. This was undoubtedly the most unexpected interview in history, but maybe it was also the most important one of her life. Alice took a deep breath, bracing herself for the day ahead. The alarm had gone off at 6 a.m., but she had already been awake for 10 minutes, staring at the ceiling of her small rented room. It was the first day of her new job, and her heart raced with anticipation. It's finally happening, she thought, excitement bubbling within her. She stepped into the shower, pinned her hair back with a crooked clip, and put on the only white shirt that didn't have sauce stains. With a quick check in the cracked bathroom mirror, she reassured herself, you look presentable enough to face the world. After smoothing out the deep creases in her dress pants, Alice headed out the door, her mind racing with thoughts of the day ahead. The subway ride was uneventful, but she found herself lost in thought about her new role and the opportunities that lay ahead. She was about to step into a fancy tech company, and she couldn't shake off the nerves that threatened to overwhelm her. When she arrived at NewGen Corp, the receptionist greeted her with a warm smile and guided her to the department where she would start as an administrative assistant for the development team. Alice walked in slowly, trying to exude confidence despite the butterflies in her stomach. Her new badge gleamed as it hung around her neck, and she introduced herself to her new colleagues. Hi everyone, I'm Alice. 3 heads turned, and she received 2 shy smiles and a polite nod. One colleague stepped forward, holding out a cup of tea. Alice Park, right? I'm Emily. Welcome to the jungle. Thanks. I just hope I survive the initiation, Alice replied, trying to lighten her own mood. Emily laughed. With that resume and the whole car window incident, you're already a legend around here. Alice's eyes widened in surprise. Already? How did you hear about that? Emily nodded toward a side window. Someone on the 3rd floor saw everything reflected in the glass. They said you were putting on lipstick, adjusting your bra, and well, you know the rest. Alice groaned, burying her face in her hand. Great. First day, and I'm already off as folklore. But you're a charming character, Emily winked. Come on, let me show you your desk. Alice's workstation was nestled between an artificial plant and a noisy printer. It might not have been the CEO floor, but it was her space, and that was enough for now. A little while later, she noticed Nicholas Smith walking down the hall, impeccably dressed in a black blazer, phone to his ear and exuding an air of purpose. When he saw Alice, he paused briefly. Watch out for the coffee and the lettuce, too, he called out, a playful glint in his eyes. Alice's eyes widened, and she nearly choked on the water she was drinking. Miss Lettuce, Emily whispered as Nicholas disappeared down the hall. Oh, please, no. But it was too late. The news spread like wildfire, and soon a sticky note was attached to her desk with Miss Lettuce scrawled across it, complete with a doodle of a bra. I knew I shouldn't have gotten out of bed today, Alice muttered, dropping her head onto her desk. Relax, Emily said, laughing. Everyone gets a nickname sooner or later. You were just more efficient. The afternoon was filled with online training and a deluge of technical information. Alice did her best to keep up, even though her brain begged for mercy with each new spreadsheet. When the day came to an end, she was still filling out a report when a calendar notification popped up. Investor presentation, mandatory attendance location, auditorium, be accompanied by Park. Alice read it repeatedly, confusion setting in. Emily, who scheduled this? Emily clicked around on her computer, her eyes widening. It was Nicholas Smith himself. Alice felt her stomach churn. Me? In an investor presentation on my first day? Looks like he has faith in you or wants to see me trip on stage and go viral on LinkedIn. As she made her way to the auditorium, she tried to stay focused and breathe, pretending she wasn't about to be thrown to the sharks. When Alice arrived, Nicholas was already waiting at the entrance. Alice, punctual. That's rare around here, he said, glancing down at her patched-up shoe. Is that duct tape? It's creativity and survival, two very important skills in a corporate environment. She shot back, managing a smile. Nicholas chuckled, shaking his head. You're definitely not from HR, and you're definitely not from planet Earth. The meeting room had floor-to-ceiling windows with a panoramic city view, an oval table, sparkling water, and sugar-free biscuits. Alice sat next to Nicholas, trying not to show that her sock was sticking to the duct tape. When it was time to present a new project focused on user experience, Nicholas turned to her. Alice, would you like to share what we discussed about audience perception? Panic surged through her. She didn't remember any such discussion. This felt like a setup for an improvised response. Taking a deep breath, Alice stood up, careful not to make noise with her makeshift shoe. What we've noticed is that people want to feel like they're part of the process. They want something easy, intuitive, but also human, something that doesn't feel like it was made only for tech experts. A few chuckles spread through the room, and some nodded along. One investor even commented, "Good point." Nicholas smiled, giving her a silent thumbs up. As they left the auditorium, he remarked, "Congratulations. You survived your first day, just barely. And you even got a nickname that will haunt me forever. Maybe it'll become your trademark," he teased. Alice laughed, feeling a sense of belonging for the first time that day. Alice woke up feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety, her brain still in sleep mode while her body seemed to have switched to emergency mode. She sat up in bed, glancing at her phone, and let out a dramatic sigh. It was the second day of work, and she still had a job. Was this a miracle or just a clerical error? She got up, brushed her teeth, and put on the best pair of dress pants she owned, the least wrinkled ones, and a beige blouse with slightly uneven buttons but plenty of personality. She slipped on the only pair of heels that were still intact and tied her hair back, applying a more subtle shade of lipstick, determined to avoid any lettuce mishaps today. Let's see how this goes, she thought, ready to tackle whatever the day had in store. Upon arriving at Nugent Corp, the receptionist recognized her with a friendly smile and a quick nod. Alice responded with an awkward wave and headed straight to her department. Emily was already there, leaning over a spreadsheet and chewing on a protein bar like it was cardboard. "Survived the initiation, Miss Lettuce?" Emily asked, without looking up from her screen. "Barely, but I'm alive," Alice replied with a chuckle. "Great! Because there's an important meeting today, and apparently you've been called in to attend again." Alice's heart sank. "You're kidding. Another presentation?" "Not exactly. Today's a big alignment meeting with investors and strategic partners, the kind where everyone pretends they know what they're doing and prays they don't get called on." Alice's eyes widened. "And I was picked?" "Rumor has it Nicholas liked your down-to-earth touch in the last presentation. He wants to see if you can do it again, but with less improvisation and more composure." "I don't even know what composure is before 10 o'clock in the morning." "Then grab some coffee, freshen up, and pretend you were born ready." Alice tried to laugh, but her stomach was already in knots. She went to the office kitchen, grabbed a cup of coffee, and returned to her desk where an email was waiting for her. Executive meeting, 10 a.m. on the 25th floor, dress code. Confidence. Confidence? She muttered to herself. Can I rent that by the hour? 20 minutes before the meeting, Alice went to the bathroom for a final touch-up. She fixed her hair, checked her teeth. Thankfully, no veggies stuck this time, and took a deep breath as she stepped out of the restroom. Her heels clicked confidently against the shiny floor until, with a loud snap, one of them broke completely off. "No, not now," she whispered, staring at her ruined shoe. She looked around for help, but the hallway was empty. Trying to walk on the side of her foot, she realized she looked like a drunken penguin. Back to the bathroom she went, rummaging through her emergency stash for a hair tie, a coin, and duct tape. "If this works, I swear I'll never buy thrift store heels again," she thought, kneeling down to pull off the broken heel. After taping it up and reinforcing it with a hair tie, she hoped it looked somewhat intentional. The result resembled a 5-year-old's art project, but at least she could walk. 3 minutes late, Alice stepped into the elevator and hit the button for the 25th floor. Just like in a movie, a hand shot in to stop the closing doors. Nicholas Smith stepped in, dressed in a dark gray suit with a crisp white shirt. His expression serious, yet a faint scent of expensive coffee lingered around him. "Mississippi Park, always on time. Adding your own dramatic flair to the entrance, I see." Alice forced a smile. "Style is everything, Mr. Smith." He glanced down at her shoe and raised an eyebrow. "Is that duct tape?" "It's creativity and survival, two very important skills in a corporate environment," she replied, managing to grin. Nicholas chuckled, shaking his head. "You're definitely not from HR, and you're definitely not from planet Earth." When they reached their floor, Nicholas turned to her before stepping out. "Try not to slip on stage. Investors don't usually enjoy acrobatics unless I do it in slow motion." Entering the conference room, Alice took a seat at the oval table, surrounded by executives and investors dressed as if they had just stepped out of a high-fashion magazine. As the meeting began, data charts and growth projections flashed on the screen. Discussions of innovation and goals filled the air. When it was time to present a new project focused on user experience, Nicholas turned to Alice. "Alice, would you like to share what we discussed about audience perception?" Panic surged through her. She didn't remember discussing anything. This felt like a setup for an improvised response, but she took a deep breath and stood up, careful to avoid making noise with her patched-up shoe. "Well, what we've noticed is that people want to feel like they're part of the process. They want something easy, intuitive, but also human, something that doesn't feel like it was made only for tech experts." A few chuckles spread through the room, and some nodded along. One investor even commented, "Good point." Nicholas smiled at her, his approval evident, and as they left the auditorium, he remarked, "Congratulations. You survived your first day, just barely. And you even got a nickname that will haunt me forever," he added with a teasing grin. "Maybe it'll become your trademark." Alice laughed, feeling lighter as the day progressed. For the first time, she truly felt like she belonged. As the days turned into weeks, Alice found herself settling into her new role at New Gen Corporation. Each morning, she woke up with a sense of purpose, the thrill of new challenges ahead, replacing the anxiety that had once plagued her. She had developed a routine, a quick breakfast, a confident outfit choice, and a pep talk in front of the mirror. "You got this, Alice," she would say, her reflection smiling back at her. The atmosphere at the office had shifted, too. Colleagues greeted her with friendly nods and smiles, and she had grown closer to Emily, who had become her confidant and partner in workplace antics. One afternoon, as they sat together at lunch, Emily leaned in with a mischievous glint in her eye. "So, how's it going with Mr. CEO? Any more almost kisses in elevators?" Alice laughed, her cheeks flushing slightly. "No, just a lot of professional banter. He's very supportive and, well, kind of charming." "Kind of charming?" "Alice, you're blushing." "There's definitely some chemistry there," Emily teased. Alice shrugged, trying to play it cool. "It's just office chemistry. We work well together." "Sure, but have you thought about how you feel about him?" Alice hesitated, her mind racing. Did she like him? Of course, she admired his intelligence and confidence. But was it more than that? "I don't know. It's complicated." Complicated, or just exciting? The conversation lingered with Alice long after their lunch break ended. Each time she interacted with Nicholas, she felt a spark, whether it was during meetings where they collaborated on projects or the way he would catch her eye across the room, unknowing smile dancing on his lips. One afternoon, after a productive brainstorming session, Nicholas turned to her. You know, Alice, I really appreciate your ideas. They bring a fresh perspective. His voice was sincere, and the way he looked at her made her heart race. Thanks, Nicholas. That means a lot coming from you, she replied, trying to sound casual while her insides fluttered. Let's present your latest proposal at the upcoming tech fair in Chicago. I think it could really stand out, he suggested. Alice's eyes widened in surprise. Me? Present at the tech fair? I've never traveled for work before. He smiled, his confidence shining through. You'll do great. Just trust yourself. The days leading up to the fair were a whirlwind of preparation. Alice worked tirelessly on her presentation, pouring her heart into every detail. She wanted to make an impression, not just on the audience, but also on Nicholas. The night before they were set to fly to Chicago, she couldn't sleep, her mind racing with thoughts about the presentation and her growing feelings for him. When they arrived in Chicago, the energy was palpable. The fair was bustling with professionals from all over the industry, and Alice felt a mix of excitement and nerves. As they set up their booth, Nicholas leaned in close to her. Remember, just be yourself. You've got this. With those words echoing in her mind, Alice took the stage. Her voice trembled at first, but as she began to speak about her ideas, she found her rhythm. She incorporated humor and relatable examples, and to her surprise, people laughed and nodded along. After the presentation, as they stepped off stage, Nicholas turned to her, admiration shining in his eyes. You were amazing, Alice. You really connected with them. I didn't faint. That's a win in my book, she joked, trying to mask her elation. You even got a tech guy to laugh. That's rare, he chuckled. They spent the rest of the day networking, exchanging contacts, and gathering feedback. That evening, Nicholas invited her to dinner, telling her it was a chance to unwind after a successful day. Just a casual dinner? Alice asked, her heart racing at the thought of spending more time alone with him. Exactly. No pressure, just food and conversation, he said, his tone light. As they walked to the restaurant, the cool evening air surrounded them, and Alice felt a sense of comfort in his presence. They talked about everything and nothing. His love for bad sci-fi movies, her obsession with collecting quirky mugs, and their shared experiences in the tech world. When they reached the restaurant, it felt like stepping into a cozy haven. Soft music played in the background as they settled into a booth. Over dinner, they laughed and shared stories, the conversation flowing effortlessly. At one point, Nicholas leaned back, studying her. You know, there's something refreshing about how you approach everything. You make it all seem so easy. Alice smiled, her heart fluttering. It's just me trying to keep up. You make it easy to be myself. Nicholas's gaze softened, and for a brief moment, the air between them felt charged with unspoken words. As they walked back to their hotel, the streetlights cast a warm glow around them. Alice felt lighter than she had in a long time, her worries melting away with each step. Nicholas offered her his jacket when she shivered slightly from the evening breeze, and she couldn't help but feel a rush of warmth at the gesture. I can't believe how much has changed in such a short time, she said, glancing up at him. Neither can I, he replied, his voice sincere. I'm glad you're here, Alice. In that moment, as they shared a quiet smile, Alice realized that whatever was blossoming between them felt right. She didn't know where it would lead, but for the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful about the future. The days turned into weeks, and Alice found herself more comfortable in her role at New Gen Corporation. Each day began with the familiar thrill of new challenges, and she had developed a routine that helped ease her nerves. She would wake up, give herself a little pep talk in the mirror, "You got this, Alice," and then head out the door, ready to tackle anything that came her way. As she settled into her new life, the office atmosphere became more inviting. Colleagues greeted her with friendly nods and smiles, and her friendship with Emily blossomed into something solid and supportive. One afternoon during lunch, Emily leaned in with a teasing smile, her eyes sparkling with mischief. So, how's it going with Mr. CEO? Any more almost kisses in elevators? Alice burst out laughing, feeling heat creep into her cheeks. No, just a lot of professional banter. He's really supportive and, well, quite charming. Kind of charming? Alice, You're definitely blushing. There's chemistry there. I can sense it, Emily teased. Alice shrugged, trying to maintain her composure. It's just office chemistry. We work well together. But have you considered how you actually feel about him? Alice hesitated, her mind racing. Did she like him? She admired his intelligence and confidence, but was it more than that? I don't know, Ian. It's complicated. Complicated? Or just exciting? Emily's question hung in the air, making Alice ponder her feelings long after their lunch break ended. Every interaction with Nicholas sparked something inside her, whether it was during meetings filled with collaborative energy or the way he caught her eye from across the room, a playful smile on his lips. One afternoon, after a particularly productive brainstorming session, Nicholas turned to her with a genuine smile. You know, Alice, I really appreciate your ideas. They bring a fresh perspective. Just a casual dinner? Alice asked, her heart racing at the thought of spending more time alone with him. Exactly. No pressure, just food and conversation, he replied, his tone casual, but his smile revealing something more. As they strolled to the restaurant, the evening air was cool and refreshing, and Alice felt a sense of comfort in Nicholas's presence. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, covering everything from his penchant for bad sci-fi movies to her quirky mug collection. When they reached the restaurant, it felt like stepping into a cozy haven. Gentle music played in the background as they settled into a booth. Over dinner, they shared laughs and stories, the atmosphere relaxed and inviting. At one point, Nicholas leaned back, studying Alice with an appreciative expression. You know, there's something refreshing about how you approach everything. You make it all seem so easy. Alice smiled, her heart fluttering. It's just me trying to keep up. You make it easy to be myself. Nicholas's gaze softened, and for a brief moment, the air between them felt charged with unspoken words. As they walked back to their hotel, the warm glow of streetlights illuminated their path, and Alice felt lighter than ever. When Nicholas offered her his jacket as she shivered slightly from the evening chill, she couldn't help but feel a rush of warmth at the gesture. I can't believe how much has changed in such a short time, she said, glancing up at him. Neither can I, he replied, sincerity in his voice. I'm really glad you're here, Alice. In that moment, as they shared a quiet smile, Alice realized that whatever was blossoming between them felt right. She didn't know where it would lead, but for the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful about the future. As Alice walked into the office on Monday, she felt a shift in the atmosphere. It was subtle, but unmistakable. Her colleagues were treating her with an air of warmth and camaraderie that hadn't been there before. Whispers of admiration swirled around her, and she caught snippets of conversations about her recent presentation at the tech fair. Did you see Alice? She absolutely nailed it, one colleague said, while another chimed in. I heard she had everyone laughing. Alice couldn't help but smile at the compliments, yet there was a part of her that felt overwhelmed. She didn't want to be just the girl who had a moment of fame. She wanted to be recognized for her contributions, her hard work, and her dedication. But all the attention also made her acutely aware of her feelings for Nicholas. After their dinner in Chicago, things felt different. They had crossed an invisible line, and now she found herself constantly thinking about him. His smile, his laughter, and the way he encouraged her made her heart race. Throughout the week, she tried to focus on her work, but every time Nicholas walked by, her heart would skip a beat. He seemed to notice her too, often catching her gaze and holding it a moment longer than necessary. Yet, despite their undeniable chemistry, the unspoken tension between them loomed like a cloud over her thoughts. One afternoon, after a lengthy meeting, Nicholas asked her to join him in his office. Alice's heart raced as she entered, shutting the door behind her. He was seated at his desk, a serious expression on his face that made her stomach twist with anxiety. Alice, he began, his tone serious. I wanted to talk to you about the project we presented. The board approved it, and they want to implement your proposal in the new campaign. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Really? That's amazing. I can't believe it. Nicholas smiled, clearly pleased. It's because of you. Your approach resonated with them. You have a unique way of connecting with people. Thank you, Nicholas. I really appreciate that, she said, her voice genuine. There was a moment of silence between them. A charged pause that felt heavy with unexpressed emotions. And about everything people have been saying. I don't want it to affect you or your reputation here, he continued, his gaze steady. Alice felt a rush of vulnerability. It already is a little. I never imagined it would be such a big deal. Nicholas leaned forward, his expression softening. You've always been more than just the elevator girl, Alice. You're one of the smartest and most creative people I've ever worked with. Her heart swelled at his words, and she managed a small smile. Thank you. I needed to hear that. He nodded, the sincerity in his eyes making her pulse quicken. If you ever want to talk about anything, I'm here. As Alice left his office, the weight of his words lingered in her mind. She had received recognition for her work, but the connection she felt with Nicholas was something deeper, something uncharted. Later that week, as Alice prepared for the company's gala, she felt the excitement mixed with anxiety. The invitation had come with elegant lettering, and the dress code was formal. She rummaged through her closet, trying to find something that would make her feel confident. After a frantic search, she settled on a dress that was slightly too tight, but still flattering. As she slipped it on, she couldn't help but wonder if Nicholas would notice her. Would he see her as more than just a colleague? On the night of the gala, Alice arrived at the venue, her heart racing as she stepped inside. The atmosphere was vibrant and alive, with soft music filling the air and laughter echoing around her. When she spotted Nicholas across the room, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, her breath caught in her throat. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers, and a smile broke across his face. There you are. You look stunning. Alice felt her cheeks flush. Thank you. You look great, too. They chatted easily, the conversation flowing as they mingled with other guests, but Alice felt a palpable tension building between them. At one point, Nicholas leaned in closer, lowering his voice. I'm really glad you're here tonight. Me too, she replied, her heart pounding as she looked into his eyes. As the evening progressed, they found themselves gravitating toward each other, sharing funny stories and enjoying each other's company. When it was time to dance, Nicholas extended his hand to her, and Alice felt a rush of excitement. As they moved together on the dance floor, the world around them faded away. In that moment, it was just the two of them, and Alice felt free. The music swelled, and as they swayed, she couldn't help but think about how much had changed since she first met Nicholas. As the night wore on, they stepped outside for some fresh air. The evening sky was dotted with stars, and a cool breeze wrapped around.